Hi, a film that I was interested in seeing based on some acclaim that it's had and has suddenly cropped up on the BBC iPlayer is Totally Under Control, the new film by Alex Gibney. Gibney has a reputation for hard hitting, meticulously researched and produced documentaries on major social issues. So it was interesting for him to cover such a contemporary and all consuming subject as the American government's response to the COVID-19 crisis. He outlines in forensic detail and with a large number of witnesses how badly it's been mishandled. I was going to say bungled, but that seems like too frivolous a word. How so much of uh, the response by the Trump administration has been to downplay the crisis, to pretend everything's fine so that the economy isn't spooked, and thus would damage Trump's re-election chances. Um, Also, to persist in the belief that market forces will save the day, such as having already seen the manufacturers of N95 masks outsource all their business overseas to other countries, then buying them in at great expense, handing them over to private companies, and then them selling them on to states rather than through the federal government, with states bidding against each other for personal protection equipment, which would then be bought up for use in hospitals, not for private individuals to be bought in shops, for hospitals by doctors and nurses who need this in order to not die and carry on saving people's lives. It's extremely damning. Um, the only criticism I would have of the film is that because of the deadlines of production, that Gidney apparently wanted the film to be completely finished and ready for distribution sometime before the election. The fact that Trump himself was diagnosed with COVID-19 is only in a postscript, which is stated to have occurred after the film had already been finished. But it's a meticulous account that feels like a batch of evidence to be used in some sort of upcoming trial. Um, Fortunately, Trump's influence over this matter is something we won't have to worry about after 2 months or so from now. Now grown-ups are back in charge, but the legacy of his bungling and his vanity and his greed and the indulgence of the others in his party who simply allowed him to run riot because he feeds into the basest desires of the Republican Party base. This will be felt for a long time. And although it seems likely that President Biden and as Vice President Harris will be able to um, do a great deal to fix this, it's a legacy that will persist for a long time. Gibney's film, I think, is a very fine piece of documentary work. It's clear. There's a straightforward chronology. Um, there's a lot lifted straight from news reports and interviews. The witnesses are all extremely credible. It's damning, and it's a very fine piece of work. I would say perhaps it doesn't even really tell me anything I didn't already know as someone who knew that Trump was an incompetent racist. Um, Knowing that it was being appallingly mishandled was not some kind of revelation watching the movie, but it was heartening to see my opinion being backed by expert testimony. So there's little else to say. It's a fine film. It might not tell you anything that you don't already know if you're any kind of critic of the Trump administration, but it's worth having um, the experts tell you you were right and that they can prove it.